Hi folks, Dave, the Honest Audiophile. This is the Ray 6SN7 Select, and these are my Honest Audiophile impressions. I want to thank Apos Audio for providing the Ray 6SN7 Select for a review. To greatly appreciate it. Apos Audio, you rock. Alright, so the Ray 6SN7 Select will set you back $65 from your bank account, and it is only available from Apos Audio. This is a Apos Audio product. It is the Ray 6SN7 Select. It comes in this nice branded box. Have you hugged your ears today? Open it up, you get a little pamphlet which says great sound doesn't happens in a vacuum. Got some information on the inside here if you want to read all that. But we're here to talk about this. So the 6SN7 is a pretty popular tube, and when Apos Audio asked me if I was interested in reviewing it, they asked if I had a tube amplifier that used it, and I said, yes I do. I have the Tor Audio Roger. Then they asked, do you have other tubes that you could compare it to? And I said, I have a few. I'm not exactly a tube guru. I'm definitely not an expert when it comes to tubes, but I do have a few. And so they sent it over. I used it with all the various DACs that I have here on my desk. MyTech Liberty DAC 2, AU and S9C Pro, the AU and X1S GT, the JDS Labs Atom Plus, and various others. And then also headphones that I used it with were from the Sennheiser HD600, Sennheiser HD660S2, Sennheiser HD580 Black, the Sennheiser Drop 8XX, Audio-Technica R70X, and various others. Did also use it with some planars. So the Ray 6SN7 Select. It's a nice looking tube. Get gold lettering. A little bit of branding on the back. I like the look of it. Looks pretty standard to a Coke bottle. I have a few others. I have one from Psvane. And then I also have this one here, which is also a Psvane. And I hooked it up with my Tor Audio Roger, started listening. Apos Audio says about 6 hours worth of burn-in is required, and got through that really easy through one day. You know, no problems, and been listening ever since. And I've had this around for quite a while, probably pushing about 7 weeks or so that it's been in house. And I've been listening randomly to my tube amp. Now, my tube amp is not something that I listen to all the time, and it is hard to get personal time with all the stuff that I have to review, but I did listen to it quite frequently, and I thoroughly enjoy the Ray 6SN7 Select. It has a little bit different of a presentation than most of the standard tube that I listen to. You know, it has a little bit lighter of a hint of warmth to it. It's not quite as thick and full sounding as some of the other tubes, and it has a little bit more airy presentation. Also, it puts a more focus on details and resolution and tone and timbre, and it has a nice width to the soundstage and good depth and layering. Now, I was rather impressed by all the capabilities of this tube and all that it brought out in the various headphones that I used, and so I started to compare it to some other tubes. For example, the Psvane that I just showed has a little bit more of a robust bottom end to it, a little bit more warmth throughout, but still has a nice airy presentation along with good details and resolution, and tone and timbre are very natural. It sounds similar to the Ray tube, but with a little bit more warmth. And then you get the cool looking blue tube here, and that's the same as the silver one that's back there. They do sound identical, it's just a different color. And I found that this one had a little bit more robustness and a little bit more thick in fullness, not as wide in the stage, and had good depth and layering, and still was really good with details and resolution. And then you have this one. Now, this is my favorite tube for jazz and classical music. I find that it adds in a little bit of body, a little bit of fullness, and especially for jazz, it adds in this like a little bit of like a smoky presentation. And I just find it to be very enjoyable with jazz music, especially. And it has a little bit more of an intimate sound when it comes to jazz, but it does really good with details and resolution, and the imaging, depth, and layering of this tube is phenomenal. And then we have an Electro-Harmonix. And I found that the Electro-Harmonix just isn't quite on the same level as all of the others. It has a little bit more fullness and a little bit more thickness to things, but it doesn't have quite as much clarity and details and resolution as the other tubes that I've mentioned. And then you have the Tung-Sol. Now the Tung-Sol, this is the GBT version of 6SN7. And I found that this one sounds very similar to the Ray tube. They have very similar warmth capabilities. It's not quite as warm and lush like the others are. And it has a very similar soundstage presentation. In fact, that's very wide. It does a really good job with imaging, and then depth and layering. You can really look into the stage. And then it presents the details and resolution, and they're a little bit more focused and precise. And then tone and timbre is very natural. Now, I do think that the Ray tube does slightly edge out the Tung-Sol when it comes to details and resolution, but in everything else, they're very similar. The Ray tube may also have just a little bit more of body in the bottom end. They might get a little bit more impact, but overall, these two are extremely similar. So if you like a Tung-Sol type of sound and you want a Coke bottle version of it, there you go. They sound very similar. So I like the Ray 6SN7 Select, and I'm rather impressed by everything that it does. Now, I'm not, this big, huge tube guy, and I can't tell the differences of each tube very well. And, all the differences are very subtle to me. But I do think that this is an excellent tube to add in, and it's something slightly different for your collection. It has a more airy presentation, a little bit lighter in note weight, and it's very good with details and resolution. So if you're looking for something that's slightly different from the usual, check out the Ray 6SN7 Select from Apos Audio. It's been Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Speaking of next video, somewhere on screen, subscription links and notification bells. If you haven't already, please check those off. Don't forget to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to the video, and check out all the links down below. There's all kinds of information down there regarding how you contact channel, follow channel, support channel. Speaking of supporting channel, I want to thank all my supporters through Patreon and YouTube memberships. Thank you very much for all you give to the channel. It's much appreciated. If you're interested in supporting the channel, there's links for one-time gifts through PayPal and Venmo, or you can also support it through monthly subscriptions with Patreon and YouTube memberships, in which you get access to the videos early, and also you can get access to my private Discord server. Down below also, there's all kinds of other information like gear recommendations, music recommendations, and all that kind of stuff. So check all that out. And lastly, don't forget to enjoy the music, and that honesty is the best policy.